Good evening, folks, and welcome back to Let's Talk Radio. And it's been a few weeks since we've been live, but here we are back again. And today we have a great show in line for you. We're going to look at the year 2021, and we're going to talk about the year in review. Now, I know your first response is you can't possibly do that in an hour. And you're right, we can't do that because so much happened in 2021. But we're going to start off kind of like the year started off with the January 6th insurrection. This was, in case you don't know what this was attempted takeover of Congress by some insurrectionists. Now, myself, Robert Vaughn, our host, Mike Shomo, and Verl Majid will deep dive into some of these subjects for you. We're also going to discuss COVID. I think we'd be remiss in our responsibilities not to talk about COVID this year because it's sort of overshadowed everything. Joe Biden's first year. And I think, we're seeing police officers and vigilantes being held accountable now in a way that we didn't see before 2021. So maybe that's progress, maybe it isn't, but I think it's a step in the right direction. So without further hesitation, January 6th insurrection. Verl, what happened on January 6th? What's the big deal? If I'm just coming back from a vacation for 2 years, what happened on January 6th?
To me, it was almost, I guess insurrection is a good word as any. It's almost like they were trying to to the Republicans and Donald Trump and his supporters, it was like, take back the country, stop this steal. Those were some of the buzzwords that he used. But it was like, it was takeover. There was no respect for the vote, for the rule of law, or anything like that. The voice of the people had spoken through the vote and the ballots. But what happened then, it was so many different aspects, and one we don't even talk about that's woven into this, and that is race. Because when the Black Lives Matter group came to Washington to protest, a peaceful protest, the army was out there locked and loaded. The city was locked down. They were out there full military gear. You couldn't move. You couldn't get near the Capitol. But when Trump's insurrectionists, who he basically whipped into a frenzy, came there, they had carte blanche. The police, military didn't show up for hours. In the seat of our government, how could that even be? If
they were instructed not to show up.
That's what I'm saying. So you see how Trump looked at Black protesters and people who are progressive and supportive of Black causes, which actually impact everybody, because if there's not freedom for all, there's freedom for nobody.
Right. Can I interject some reality here?
Go ahead.
It's white privilege, because let me tell you something.
Yeah.
If there's been any country but America, that would have been an attempted coup.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
They're not calling it that because, see, that calls for them to use them as treasonous white people, and they didn't want white people to be treasonous. Now
that was the thing, Mike. Yeah, nobody got charged with treason?
Right, but you know what? I think it went a little deeper than that. This was not just a bunch of people that got whipped up to a frenzy. This is a plan had been in the works for over a year.
Right.
Well, you're right about that.
The reason the military didn't show up is because Mike Flynn's brother, who was a senior military advisor, was at a meeting, and they did not give the order for the military to show up. They withheld the military. They withheld the National Guard because the National Guard, DC doesn't have a National Guard. So the National Guard from Virginia has to wait on the order of a military to engage. And Trump instructed, that's why he replaced some people high in the Defense Department, and I guess some people in the chain of command that never gave the order for the military to show up, because they said they knew what was going to happen. The FBI, and they all knew what was going to happen.
Right, and that's the reason they won't release the emails now about the conversations that went back and forth.
That's
Mike,
right.
You're 100% right. I was getting to that. White privilege. Some folks can do anything and get away with it, and some people, you jaywalking, you're in jail or worse.
But see, that was a power move. That was a power move to seize power, and it had
without question.
They had everything to do with Trump staying in power.
It was an attempted coup.
It was an
That's what it was. That's what it was. I mean, can you imagine that? And he let this thing play out in broad daylight on TV for hours. Just to show I guess to show I've got some people behind me and we're willing to do X, Y, Z, you know.
And I'm gonna tell you something else. If they had got Mike Pence, they would have hung him.
Yeah, well, that was the thing. That was the
Nancy
thing.
Pelosi, they had weapons there. They didn't talk about this a lot, but they had weapons there, firearms.
Oh yeah.
They
had handguns, crowbars, tasers, tomahawk axes.
They had weapons.
All of those things, you know.
Handcuffs. They're planning. I think they were gonna
and the gallows.
Kill Nancy Pelosi. They would have hung Mike Pence, and they would have taken a lot of them hostage. And then Trump would have been able to declare martial law and stay in power. That was the plan.
Hey, but
can you just think about it for a minute though. The vice president of the United States is calling for somebody to send help for all those hours, and he is not getting a response. The vice president. What kind of country would we be living in right now if Pence had got hung on the lawn of the Capitol? You know.
Mm-hmm.
They did it by Stalin, huh?
But see, they would have had to take Nancy Pelosi too, because technically it was the president who had not been. He wasn't the president anymore. Then you had the vice president who was gone. So the next in power would have been the Speaker of the House.
Speaker of the House, yeah.
That's why they wanted to get Nancy Pelosi, because then they got Nancy Pelosi, then would have been the president pro tem of the Senate, which I think was a Republican at that time. So the reason the military never showed up is because Trump's appointees prevented them from showing up. Why do you think Trump didn't call them off for 3 hours? Because they were supposed to have this done inside an hour. They were supposed to have this done.
It was actually insane. I've never seen anything like this, you know. And I'm 68.
Well, you know, before it even happened, you know, I was talking to some people and I was saying, hey, it's gonna be some stuff on January 6th. Like, oh no, man, ain't nothing they can do. I said, hey, they're gonna cause some trouble, you watch. And man, I was my wife was out making some errands. And when it came on television, I was calling her. I said, hey, you know, because she was one of the ones saying, well, you know, they can't take it. They can't do this. I said, these white folks going to act up. I said, because remember that one guy who was really the ringleader and he was getting the message. But remember, they arrested him and you never heard anything about him again.
For the black guy that was head of the 3 percenters or something?
Right, the black guy that was head of the whole thing.
And what was he head of? It wasn't the 3 percenters. It was the Proud Boys.
Proud Boys.
Yeah, the black Cuban guy headed the Proud Boys. Yeah, I forget his name.
I saw it on CNN and a couple of other places and on Facebook where he was telling everybody to come and that the president had okayed everything. Nobody's going to get arrested and all this stuff. But when they caught him, he was talking like crazy. But out of everybody, they had this, the shaman, the shaman.
QAnon, yeah.
Yeah, he got 4 or 5 years in prison, but you haven't heard about the Proud Boy leader. You haven't heard nothing.
Yeah, what was his name? Ali something.
You know, he may have been undercover for the.
Man, they swooped him up.
He was agent provocateur,
right,
for the FBI, and because they had busted him before. And what happened was he got them guys riled up, and they were supposed to pick him off, but then Trump withheld the military and said, "No, don't arrest him, don't bother him." You know,
when they picked him up, he started talking that he had talked to Trump and he had talked to somebody, one of Trump's boys, and said that they gave him money and they gave him access. Even gave him a tour and said, we want you to do this. And because, this stuff really started formulating right after the election, to take it back. Okay, we're going to take it back. We can do this because there was an incident. Remember, we talked about this before. And there was an incident.
His name was Enrique Tarrio. That was his name.
But he was the one, but, hey, has he been prosecuted?
Well, you know what? Has anybody seen it?
Right.
There you go.
They swooped him up because he was
He's,
talking
he's
about,
in Aruba or somewhere, or the Cayman Islands.
We don't know where he is. I'm saying, has anybody seen him? Nobody's seen him.
he was talking about all these Republican heavyweights that they had, they've been sanctioned by them, and I'm
But they
saying,
had people in the House of Representatives give them a tour.
right,
The day before, they did a dry run on how they was going to take over. So see, Jim Jordan, that Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they all know who these people are, and they're closing in on them. They talk with, because see, once they get, what you got to understand now, when you use your phone, when you go on this phone and you do something on the internet or you do something anywhere, it gets uploaded to the cloud. And it gets uploaded to the cloud, whether you like it or not.
mhm,
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you call somebody, even if you call somebody on WhatsApp, what they're finding out now is WhatsApp is supposed to be an app that's, it's what do you call it? It's encrypted. So when I talk to Verl and Verl talks to me, then that information, nobody else can access that information. But guess who owns WhatsApp?
but Facebook is one of them, right?
Mark Zuckerberg. And
Right.
guess what they do with WhatsApp? Well, all that stuff is not encrypted. It gets stored somewhere. So
Right.
all these little people that use these things that they think are encrypted, they're getting all this information. People that use WhatsApp and thought that they were scot-free, but they're getting all this information. And see, Zuckerberg is smart because that's how they're gonna keep him off his ass. He said, oh, yeah, well, you guys work with me here, and I can maybe with some way we can get this WhatsApp stuff to you. And Benny Thompson, you're not gonna prosecute us, are you? Because
Well-
there's nobody talking about Facebook too much.
Okay, well, see,
Yeah.
and what I say, it's affecting us now, because now we have all kind of political and criminal stuff being, they're being indicted, the investigations, and it's still happening today. It's going to happen even after January 6th rolls around again.
Right.
What we're going to do is, maybe do some shows later about that, to just do an update. But we could spend like 3 hours on this. So let's.
Yeah, you're true. Okay. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But still, I mean, that was not just a story. That is the story.
That's the story,
here,
man. Because the
4
United
people died during that, and they're giving these guys a slap on the wrist. And like, just going back to the white privilege thing, you remember QAnon's mother said he had to have kosher meals and
Right, white
all
privilege.
these other things and organic food, and who
Attica,
goes to jail and gets that?
Attica, Attica.
and the jail in Attica, they threw pork chops at the Muslim prisoners.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Getting pork chops.
They refuse to, let them eat, meals without pork. I just watched the documentary the other day, and that's what I'm saying, white privilege, because, you've
Yeah,
been,
a lot of times in political power struggles, when right-wing governments come to power, they always have somebody who's the boogeyman or the bad guy.
Mhm.
It was the Jews. They always have somebody to blame. And this is like textbook. And so they're blaming, Black people. Trump blamed Mexicans. You're going to lose your job because all the Mexicans
Right.
are coming to Detroit to take your jobs, and they blame other white people that are liberal.
Well, there's another, Robert, I'm sorry, go ahead. There's another privilege they don't talk about much, and that's that rich folks privilege, that affluence that gets people off.
what that's called, and it's worse than racism. It's a term called elitism. That's
Yeah,
what,
exactly.
that's what
And and the thing about it is that if you, as a Black person, get enough money and you support Trump and you agree with him, then they'll accept you just like they do anybody else.
Oh, yeah. But
Because we've seen, I don't want to call any names, but then maybe we should, but we've seen people that are in the hip hop world, people that are in the entertainment world, accumulate a lot of money and have been accepted. And
You get in that billionaires club, it's a whole different world,
That's what I'm saying, we even had one of them on TV saying, it's not about Black people, it's about a money game. It's not about Black people anymore once you get to a certain level, I think, who was it, Monique and Steve Harvey had that conversation.
look at the insurrection when it first happened, and then you look at it, and who was the first person that was prosecuted? Who was the first person that got indicted?
Wasn't that a little Black guy?
That's right. It's a black guy who killed one of the insurrections.
He was the only one there. He was the only black dude there.
They say, who we on? We'll start at the top and get the brother.
That's what he said.
It's just like one of the 80s movies, you know, the black guy always gets killed first.
You done threatened to hang the members of Congress and the vice president and all this stuff. And here's a dude breaking into the Capitol, and you figure like, well, we're going to prosecute him, and they were serious about it.
Yeah. Yep. And like you say, but the United States almost ceased becoming a democracy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if Trump had got back in power, we'd be having a much different conversation. You know, we'd be having a much different conversation.
You probably wouldn't. You probably wouldn't.
The United States to me is not a democracy now. It's an aristocracy.
Well, it's
based
like
on
every other-
hypocrisy.
it's like- yeah, it's a capitalistic system. And we talked about this before. Mike, you remember how the economic system decides what political system you have. And it's basically, you know, that's why you say, well, Obama and Trump took money from the same people. Of course they did.
Right.
Biden took some money from the same people George Bush did. I mean, that's capitalism.
In a way, there's only one party. It's Republicrats. One works one side of the street, the other works the other side of the street, and they say, we'll meet downtown, you know.
I remember I asked a prominent black Republican one time.
The Republicans.
The Trumpicans, yeah.
Yeah.
As a prominent black Republican, I said, so why'd you decide to be Republican? He said, Bob, he said, let me tell you, I've been in this business a long time. And he said, if you stay in the middle of the road, you get hit by traffic on both sides. He said, you got to get to one side or the other. And he said, it don't really matter. He said, but you got to get to one side or the other.
Wasn't W.O. Walker a Republican?
Yeah, he was, man. Yeah.
He was lifetime, yeah. But you know, it's interesting. I talked to a guy. I asked him why he was Republican. He said, the line is shorter. But
yeah. So January 6th insurrection, I mean, stay tuned. I got a feeling that we'll be hearing more about this, and they're starting to close in on people. When they close in on people, man, they start sweating and they start talking, you know. So this next couple months should be very interesting. Okay, wow. Let's go to
COVID.
Yeah, I mean, what can't we say about COVID? I mean,
It's something else that's still here.
yeah, something else is still here. Yeah. I mean,
Let me tell you something.
changed the game. Yeah. Mhm.
And then we talk about Biden. I want to talk about Biden into this COVID. Because remember, the reason that it basically got out of hand was because of Trump, when he was discounting. People still talking about it's still a hoax, and people are on their deathbed talking about it's still a hoax, it's this, that. And I was just, when we got our polio shots or our polio cube, when we got vaccinated for measles, mumps, and rubella and all, we never asked what was in it. We didn't know how long they had developed it. But see now, what it say in Quran or the Bible? It says, man didn't really have any rejection until he got knowledge. Okay, when he got knowledge, then everything became complicated.
He went to the tree of knowledge. He told him, don't eat that fruit.
So the thing is that all these people, with the research, and at that, now we almost at 1 million people dead from COVID. We almost there, but still people are saying, "Oh, I don't believe this and that and other." I got my shot. I got my booster. I'm happy, and I have underlying health conditions also. I'm a diabetic, but no matter what, if they tell me to take a shot every month for the now, I'm taking the shot because I'd rather be alive than be on my deathbed talking about I should have got the shot.
Well, if you know anybody, I've known a few people. I'm just and this is real reality. What happened last 3 to 4 weeks? I've known 5 people that died from COVID.
Yeah, about
not somebody tell me, people I've known. And my wife and I were sitting down the other day, and we were trying to decide whether to go to this family Christmas dinner. And she said, let's make a list of all the people we know that got COVID. It was 22 people on that list, man. And we said, you know what? we think we're gonna pass on this one. We think we're gonna pass on this. It was 22 people on the list that got COVID. It's like this new variant. This thing is spreading like crazy, man. You know, and if you once you've seen what it does to somebody, then you have a little different point of view, man. You know.
Well, you know, the thing was is that, and then getting back to what I said about Biden, Biden picked up the whole thing and said, okay, then this is what we're going to do. And we have to commend him for that. But the problem came when we were headed in a good direction. The problem came when there was a problem with the J&J vaccination. Did everything just like, oh no, I told y'all something wrong with it. And now we're trying to get back to where we were at with the confidence of it. Because with the J&J, a couple of people died and people getting sick and people having headaches and all that stuff. But they say that, you know, they worked everything out supposedly, but people are just dying from it, man, because they're not really looking at the science of it. They're not looking at the numbers. You know, 20,000 and who have it. And then you got over you got like 400 or 500 people, 600 people dying, or 1,000 people dying every day.
And if you talk to anybody,
99% of the people that's dying, and then go ahead, 99% of the people that dying are unvaccinated. Go ahead, Robert.
the highest COVID rate of any county in the country.
I hope.
Right where we at. Right where we at, man. Now, if you go, I mean, everybody is entitled to their own freedoms, but you're not entitled to get infected and infect other people. But if you go out, like if you go to a ball game with 80,000 people, you're gonna get exposed, man. So unless you have a mask on all the time, which will, minimize your exposure, if you're around that many people, you're gonna get exposed, man.
The Browns, look at the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Look at the basketball teams. They had canceled games because they didn't even have enough players to play.
Right.
Teams had out of 18 players, they had 11, 12 players on the cover. They said we don't have enough players to play, And I think, people are so fed up with this and we want to get past it. We tend to overlook it. In China, in this city in China, that's about 60 miles south of Beijing, called Xi'an, China. It's got a population of 13 million people, which is more than the population of the whole state of Ohio. They locked down.
Right.
You know why? They had 300 cases.
Yeah, just
last week. How many did we have in Ohio?
Like what?
Let me just see.
15,000 or something.
How many cases of COVID did we have in Ohio last week? It's like a ridiculous number, man. Let me see. I think you're right, Mike. I think it was like, let me see if I can get a number here real quick.
And speaking of deaths, you know what's killed more people in Ohio than COVID and car accidents and other things too? Mm-hmm. This fentanyl thing. These kids overdosing on this fentanyl.
We had over 28,000 cases the last couple of weeks, and they had 300 cases, and they shut down.
Shut down the whole place.
We had 28,000, and people were saying, "Oh, it's I got to do this and I got to do that."
I guess the herd mentality will be the thing that finally has to kick in Ohio.
Well, I think what's going to happen, like you say, with the fentanyl, this, I think COVID affects everything.
Oh yeah, without question.
It affects everything. And I think I've read a study about people that basically if you got COVID and you take fentanyl, you're probably going to die because the same amount that you took before you had COVID will kill you after you have COVID.
Right.
And the reason being, it depresses your respiratory system. And I read a study that they did in the UK, I think it was. They said that what they're finding is that one of the reasons you have more fentanyl overdoses too, is that because people have COVID and don't realize it. Because if you're a junkie and you get a sniffly nose and a little cough or something, you got to go get some drugs, man. You're not thinking about going to the emergency. And so when they do get fentanyl, the same amount of fentanyl they used before will kill them now. And that's a contributing factor. That's not the only factor. But
And let me ask you guys a question. Why do you think about 10% of the medical professionals and first responders are refusing to take the shot, including like as well as policemen and some firemen and others?
well, I'll let Mike answer first because you said you have physician kids, and then I'll answer you.
I think they're still, on that Trump stuff. I think it's because, my rights are being violated. Nobody can make me do this. And, I'm calling ACLU it's that those countries that you were just mentioning, Rob, about, shutting down the whole, they don't have the rights that we have. Just like in Africa, you seen the people that were quarantined to their houses, and you see the guys coming there with the canes,
Motorcycles caning them if you came out your house.
beating them back into the house. They controlled it.
In China, that city in China, one person is allowed out every 2 days to go get food or go to the drugstore, whatever. And if they catch you out, you're not supposed to be out. You know what happens? You get taken to a closed city where everybody there got COVID, and that's where you stay.
It'd be like treating you like a leper.
Yeah, they're not playing, man. But that's why they don't have any cases, and you would think that people would have enough common sense to try to, and that's why you see now when people get this new strain of COVID, the whole family gets it.
Well, see, that's why, they were saying, mask up, take the vaccination, because see, it's like the science fiction movies we used to see, where a virus or a bacteria or something just takes over the whole place and just leaves the earth ravished, and you got 4 or 5 people that's alive and they're trying to bring the earth back. But see, this is
contagion, yeah.
It's a little extreme, but you figure like this, and now they were saying, and it's all because of my rights. I have rights you can't make me do, but the president can make you do.
Yeah.
They could actually put you in jail.
Yeah. Mike, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
When Trump, Trumplicans, when they turn COVID, mask wearing, vaccinations into a political issue.
That's right.
It clouded people's judgment. And
Right.
then you get people like Rupert Murdoch, who owns all this media, the Wall Street Journal, Fox News. When he sent his people, he said, okay, reinforce this. They turned it into a political statement. Wearing a mask is a political statement now, more so than a health statement. When they did that, you got people now in certain parts of the country, they're not gonna wear a mask no matter what.
Now, let me tell you, my grandson plays basketball at Olmsted Falls. And we go out to see, he's in 3rd grade, not the older one, but the 3rd grade one. And we go in there, we all masked up and everything. And every Caucasian person in there did not have a mask.
And they look at you like you're crazy. And that's a political statement, man.
You know what I say? Because I look at them and say, yeah, I don't want nothing y'all got.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what happens when you turn it into a political statement. Like I remember early on in the virus, you had some Black people try to turn it into a political statement. And they said, oh, Black people can't catch it. I said, oh, well, that's cool. I don't need a mask, And when you say stupid stuff like that,
right?
It's not true, but a lot of people believe that stuff. A lot of people, this doctor said in Florida said that people come in the hospital dying of COVID-19, and they still don't believe that it's really COVID-19.
Right. But see,
they still don't believe that's why they're in there. If
you remember, years and years before we had COVID-19, Chinese people were always wearing masks. You see them walking around in their country with masks and stuff on. There's a lot of stuff there,
They used to say the air was bad, yeah. But I used to ask them, the students, why they had masks on that I work with.
Well, they do have some cities. They got more pollution than any place on earth in some of those cities.
Oh,
last February, I was at the Democratic debate, as a guest of Bloomberg. And when I came back from Vegas, this was February 23rd or something, 2021. When I came back on the plane, every Asian person in the airport had a mask on.
what I'm saying.
I sat next to the 17-year-old guy, he was asking me, he said, well, what do I do when I get here in Boston? So I was trying to help him out. He could speak English, but could tell he didn't travel too much. I said, well, why do you guys all have masks on? He said, well, because there's a virus in my country. And so he didn't have to say no more, because I said, well, this is your country and you are my plane. It's going to be in my country.
Hey, come back, give me a mask.
Yeah, but I swear to God, every Asian person in the airport had a mask on. Because see, it had hit there, back in probably November, December. So they had all masked up. And see, they were keeping it from us because, when it first got here, they didn't tell anybody about it till Trump and all his friends got to buy Moderna stock and Pfizer stock and sold all their other stock in places. They didn't tell anybody about it till they got their investment portfolios together, and then they told everybody the second week in March. Yeah.
My wife and I had it in November of 2019 before they even.
I did too. My wife and I did too, because we had the exact same symptoms. It was Thanksgiving weekend. We both had a low-grade fever,
right?
Cough for about 2 or 3 weeks.
Felt like somebody was stepping on your chest.
Yeah, we didn't have real bad shortness of breath, but it was this constant cough. It was a low-grade fever. And it felt like, I said, well, man, I think I got a touch of the flu. That's what I remember saying. My wife said the same thing, but it wasn't. And then it kind of went away. And then 2 months later, when it came out COVID, I said, man, it sounds like exactly what we had. Because, the first strain was pretty bad, and it was mostly harming elderly people and people with compromised immune systems. It really wasn't young people would get it, and they wouldn't even know it. And then the Delta strain came, and it was a lot worse this year. And then the Omicron strain came, and they say it's not as bad, but it spreads to a lot more people.
When I got
it's easier transmissible. It's more transmissible. So
it was some of the worst stuff, because I had just had a flu shot about like 3 weeks before I got it. I had the flu shot in September when I went to see my doctor, and I wasn't due for another checkup until like January. So he gave me my flu shot when I usually get it in November. He gave it to me in September. So mine wasn't that bad, but my wife didn't get rid of it until March of 2020. Because she had it bad. I mean, we had vaporizers going. We was eating Halls like they were M&Ms, and man, we were just trying to survive.
Hey, speaking of that, Mike, I was in the drugstore the other day trying to buy some cough drops. Every cough drop in the place was sold out. I went to Walmart, same thing. Vicks Vapor Rub, all those things.
Man.
People like hoarding this stuff.
Now,
try finding a test kit.
Impossible.
Yeah, I mean, we
was in line at Cleveland Clinic the other day down at W.O. Walker Building.
Yeah.
My grandson had to get a COVID test because 2 people on his basketball team, the older one, he had to get a COVID test because 2 people had tested. This was the crazy thing. People had the COVID. Now, it's only 3 black guys on the team where they play at, right? And the 2 brothers had the COVID. I was just like, seriously, man.
But you know what? When you get, and I know a lot of people in Michigan and Detroit in particular. And I remember last year, man, they were still going to dance parties in June and July with no mask on, having wedding receptions and everything. And I'm saying, man, I said, are we just paranoid? You guys just don't get it. But I mean, they just didn't believe it, man. And so many people there got it. And a couple people I know that had it last year still have neurological problems.
Oh yeah, I got problems.
Yeah, I know 2 people in particular. One is a good friend of mine. He can't remember my phone number now, and he was one of those guys that could remember everything. And he said he knows it's affected him, and his wife, she's having trouble. She's having trouble with her balance and with some other things, and with her, what do you call it? She gets mad real easy, with her impulse control and with her, her
bipolar or something.
Bipolar or something. Yeah.
Well, my thing is that, it's like I'll get like my brain get real hot, and I'll actually fall over and be out for about like 5-6 seconds. That's why I don't drive much no more. 'Cause
Right.
yeah, but when I got my shots, when I was fully immunized, I was a lot better. And then
Vaccinated. The only Aaron Rodgers was immunized. Say vaccinated.
Aaron Rodgers say immunized.
Immunized.
Don't play on words there. Let's see with the semantics. Yeah, immunized.
But anyway, when I got the booster, because it seemed like it was coming back, but I've been okay since I got the booster. But yeah, there's some, they leave some stuff behind when it's gone, even though you get the shot.
Yeah.
You leave some stuff behind.
But you can have the flu, and you can have that. They call it the Epstein-Barr virus. With the flu, which that's that. What do they call it? Epstein-Barr virus leaves you tired.
Epstein virus. That don't mean I'll be picking up little girls, do it?
No, no. That's an Epstein-Barr virus. It comes from mono.
Okay.
But you can also, a lot of people, when they have the flu, they get it. And usually it doesn't bother you, but sometimes it can leave you with chronic fatigue syndrome. That's what I was thinking about, where you be at this state of being tired for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, And so they're saying that they think COVID is very similar to that, where you might get over the virus. It's like if you have mono, you can get over the mono, but the Epstein-Barr virus is also the virus that causes chickenpox. But if you have mono, you can get over mono, but you might still have this chronic fatigue syndrome for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And a lot of viruses exhibit that same those same qualities, and COVID's another one. You get over the initial virus, but then you have this lingering effects, So I don't know. Hopefully we can get enough people to mask up. Australia has just implemented a new law because, like us, they have a lot of the right-wing media tells people, this is just a government intrusion. Don't wear masks, don't take the virus. And they said, okay. They said, but if you do not take your vaccinations, not your immunization, but if you don't take your vaccinations, when you come to the hospital, we're going to send you to a different hospital and we're going to charge you more money because you're going to require more care.
Right.
So what do you think about that, Vero?
I was about to ask you a question. Why do you think this is the first time that they've had a vaccine? They said that if it makes someone sick, by law, you can't sue them.
Well, I think because we probably don't have enough judges in courts.
It's the same thing, like if basically they send you off to war, you get killed, you can't sue. I mean, you get benefits, but you can't sue for the government, sending you over there and being killed. The thing is that
Mike, people have been able to sue before if they got a vaccine that made them sick or caused some kind of problem or health birth defect or something like that.
The government is behind, and you know what they call that sovereign immunity.
Yeah.
They got that sovereign immunity clause because see, this is a crisis. We really at war with some germs.
Yeah, we are.
They're not guns and tanks and stuff, but they're infiltrating our bodies and they're killing us and they're making us sick. So,
and the reason we're in such big trouble now is because when this first happened,
right,
it was turned into a political issue.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. You know what? I got an idea for an upcoming show. Wait a minute, Mike, hold on. For an upcoming show, why don't we see if I can get a doctor, a researcher, a scientist from the other side of the equation to shed light on this argument. We listening to Fauci and, Biden and what have you, but let's look at the other side from some people who are objective, have credentials, have had some scholarship, done some research.
Like that doctor Trump had from Nigeria.
Dr. Seti.
Said you could drink bleach.
Well, I'm not talking about
ivermectin doctor from Nigeria. Is that the one?
I'm not talking about that doctor. I could find some people and we can get them on and let's have a little discussion on this.
Yeah, find him and I'll get Dr. Shomo on and we'll have a little.
That'll be fine.
That's why Dr. Shomo has been in here a couple of times.
Yeah, I know. I was on when Dr. Shulman was here, and I appreciate her insights and her observation and her
But
perspectives.
the thing about why I say this is a political issue is because, Verl, if you have a heart attack, and Mike says, Verl, you're really not having a heart attack. That's just, Biden just convincing you that when you have a chest pain, you can't breathe and you're sweating. It's not really a heart attack. You're just having a panic attack. So you just lay there for a while and take some deep breaths and you'll be okay. And you would probably, if you had the strength, you'd probably swing it, Mike, but you probably would want to call and get a doctor or an ambulance and take you to the hospital. And this,
well, I'd like to get somebody who could really evaluate it,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. Somebody that could really evaluate it. And
but like I just said, there are doctors on both sides of the coin, Everybody's not the quack,
He just answered his own question.
I know he did. Yeah. But that's like say you get somebody that can really.
Well, Robert, when you said the question, you said if you're having a heart attack,
Yeah.
So,
but if you have one, you're probably not going to call Governor DeSantis. You're probably going to call the 911, right?
I'm going to do something,
Yeah. But it's, and this is, I think this is the danger when you have something like that and you turn into a political issue. A lot of people, well, like Trump said, Trump used it as a political issue, but I think last week he said, oh yeah, I got my booster.
Right.
I heard that.
All the people that booed him.
He didn't say I drank bleach and used ivermectin. He said, I got my booster. Yeah, you understand? So that right there should tell you all you need to know.
But see, the people, that booed him, and he got all kind of bad press behind that because they still believe in him.
Mm-hmm.
Still believe in him.
Still believe in him, yeah. But that, it's hard to believe. It's hard to admit to yourself that you believe a lie. That you believe a lie.
Believing these close to 1 million people that have died from it.
Mm-hmm.
They show you all the time the bodies that are stacked up in refrigerated trucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they ran out of room in the morgue.
What is it going to take?
Yeah. So to be continued. This is another subject where we probably should dedicate a whole show to it. Maybe we'll get Dr. Shomo back and then Verl's doctor back, and we'll talk about where we are now.
Okay.
I'm
agreeable to that.
And we'll follow the science, Okay, let's Joe Biden's first year.
Well, Joe Biden's first year, he's at war.
He's at war. I give him a grade of A+.
You give Joe Biden an A+?
Yeah.
I give him a B+. And the reason that I want to give him room to grow.
Okay.
Give him B+.
I'd give him a C-.
Well,
I mean, he one of the things he did when he first came in, I like the fact that he brought Kamala Harris in there,
mm-hmm.
as a running mate. So that's even going back further than he got in, And she's been really active, and I think this kind of helped bolster the party a lot, showing that he can bring a woman in there, a woman of color,
mm-hmm.
Mixed race woman.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said the reason I give him an A+ is because he inherited a situation where people believe that you could drink light and bleach. He kind of turned that around. He inherited a situation where the economy was in the worst shape since the Depression. And the Build Back Better plan, he got that. He got people paid through unemployment, which kept the economy afloat. Because what you got to understand is people that were getting unemployment, they spent that money. The people that got the BBB loans usually didn't spend it. The big companies, like Boeing, they got 50 billion or whatever they got. That was like a transfer of wealth that was started under Trump and continued under Biden. That was a transfer of wealth. That money never got circulated back into the economy, but it let the airlines and things that were important to the infrastructure still function, which is important. He made in some countries. I had somebody tell me in some countries you had to pay for the vaccine. So if you don't have money, you're not getting the vaccine. All our vaccines have been free.
Mhm.
You know, we got, if you were unemployed,
You mean
because
paid
of
for by taxpayers, right?
yeah, paid for by taxpayers.
Mhm.
If you were unemployed, you got unemployment, which is enough to hopefully keep you going. If you had a small business, maybe you got a little money to keep you going. And this was a huge deal, man, because this economy was like on the brink last year.
Well, wait, you know what? Well, if they had said that Obama, when he became in office, he inherited the worst economic situation, because they had the bank failures before that. And he bailed them out, the car loans fell. So they say he actually inherited the worst situation. And Trump's economy, actually, there were jobs, there was money, there were deals. It was actually doing pretty good up until the COVID came in. And then that kind of just showed and I mean, I'm gonna say
It wasn't doing good.
When I get money.
It was
But
doing
it
good
kinda
if you were
exposed a lot of
somebody.
things.
Yeah, it was doing
Yeah,
good if
so-
you were somebody with a lot of money.
Yeah. But there were jobs and what have you, and the stock market was doing good. But when COVID came in, everything flattened out. But like I said, I'd give him a C minus. He did some good things. He did let's say, he did help revive the economy in a lot of ways. He expanded healthcare. He's big on climate change, promotes peace and security, not trying to get into any new wars, protecting the children, policing the criminal justice system. I like that. And, just kind of getting rid of some of those far right judges that Trump had put in.
Trump put in
maybe a C plus,
during his term.
For all of that, I say a B plus, because there's still a lot of things that has to be completed. A lot of things that he started working on that has to be completed. Like if I get A plus now, okay, where you go? Okay, so I give him a B plus on it, because that's a hell of a job that he's done through all controversy and the denials and the people not working with him. And I think he's got a lot of things done, but there's a lot of things that has to be done. And I'm just waiting, and I'm hoping, and he got my support. If whatever we need to do to get it done. But like right now, I believe he's at a B plus, and whatever it takes to help him get to an A plus. We as Americans have to, we have to get behind him and rally behind him, because see, we still have to take care of the small businesses. We still have to maintain the family values. We haven't touched on that yet. We haven't touched on that.
Sure.
Yeah, we gave us some stimulus. Yeah, but we got to put the family back together.
That's what's key, right, Mike? That's what's key.
Well, his infrastructure plan is going to create a lot of jobs.
But okay, haven't done it yet.
Yeah, but I'm saying the money is just
done.
Dispersed.
Yeah. That's his. In far as I'm concerned, that's his highway. That's his highway to A plus. Getting all that stuff done. Yeah, we got it. Because a lot of times, especially the construction business, we know who runs the construction business. We know who run that. So therefore, how much of that is going to trickle down to the Black community? How many of that's going to trickle down to our local community? How much of that money is going to go to the nonprofit organizations that need the money to help these to help provide the services that our communities really need? So therefore, it's like this bridge that they're building over to the stadium over the highway. It's going to be a $200 million project. How many jobs are going to come from the inner city? How many people are going to? Because here's a bridge that the average person in Cleveland on the east side, to a place that most of them can't even afford to go watch the Browns. How many people? How is that going to affect? How's that going to change?
This goes back to our last, about 3 shows ago. People, if you don't get involved in the political process,
well, of course,
when they build a bridge to go to the stadium, you can't complain.
Right.
You have Ward 4 with 17% of the people voting for a council person.
Right.
and you didn't elect the good council person, you elected the one that had the most name recognition. The people actually didn't say, oh, well, let's go through this one, let's go through that one. When people don't vote, I mean, this is the kind of thing that you get, man. And I think that's why it's so important. You know, I think the most important thing Joe Biden could do, I'm gonna give him an A-. A+ is too generous, you're right. I'll give him an A-, but I think the most important thing he could do is a Voting Rights Act.
Right.
You know, because if we can't vote more people into office,
Yeah.
and we got to figure out a way. We talked about this.
That's part of the nonprofits. That's part of the nonprofits.
Right. We got to figure out a way to make these people go vote, man. You know?
But you know, that's the thing. We got to re-educate people, you know, and we got to, like, whether it's in concert with the churches, the ministers, or the teachers, the schools, whatever neighborhood organizations, we have to re-educate people, the adults too.
Right.
Because if the adults don't know what time it is, they can never teach their children.
Yeah. And I think, you know, like I had a conversation with somebody a couple of weeks ago about, and they said, well, we think we should work through the churches because they have you know, that's typically what's been done.
They got a base, yeah.
But see, everybody doesn't go to church.
Well, you know what, but Robert, you got to start somewhere, man.
Yeah,
you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. But
and the people who do go to church know people who don't go to church, and they can spread the message or say, hey, we having a meeting in the basement of the church next week. You know, it's no religion. We're just talking about some things. We come have some coffee and donuts. Let's get this thing moving, you know.
And then too, you have to reach people where they are. If they're in the street, then you have to go where they are. You know, you have to reach people where they are. Yeah, I totally agree. I say you got to start somewhere, but I think it needs to be you know, we talk about this a lot of re-education. You know, people have to really be educated because a lot of them were educated to politics. They were educated to a lot of things. You know, they can tell you how to do this in the street or how to do a snake dribble or something, you know, but a lot of them weren't educated to politics.
I don't think here in Cleveland that and I know they're doing, but that's what I was saying about the funds and stuff, you know, to the nonprofits, because we have asked the leadership of the NAACP to come on our show. Where they at? You know, because see, you know, it's not like it used to be. You know, it's more, but it's a lady that's head of it or something like that, or NAACP, and you know, like when
they probably were at
when Pinckney and all them was there, you knew that they was there. When they was having different meetings and stuff, you knew. Man, you know, it seemed like they're underground now. You know,
they're not underground, man. They got to get ready for this big gala they're having next week. I mean, come on. That takes a lot of time and energy.
Yeah.
And he got pushy. And he got pushy. They like the common man.
They got pushy. They forgot what forgot what they were supposed to do. You know, they don't do. Back then, you talk about Arnold Payne and George Ford. Them guys were activists.
Right.
You know? Right.
George Ford said, you know, if there's not 20% minority representation for the Cleveland State Convocation Center, it will not be built.
Right. You know,
that's the kind. Now that's leadership right there. You know, because a lot of these construction companies on these projects, rather than hire local people of color, they would go to West Virginia and import some of those guys to come here and make the money and take it back to West Virginia.
Well, see, one of the problems.
I remember Quentin Durham told me about this when he was living. You know, when he started his school.
One of the problems is, and Mike addressed this, is that you need training because you can't get an iron worker or somebody who's a welder who knows how to weld I-beams, you know, who knows how to secure I-beams, who knows how to, you know, engineers that know how to build a building. Because when you build a building, you have to take a lot of things into account. You know, how much the building is going to sway, you know, what the resonant frequency of the building is, how it vibrates. This floor
strength of materials.
This one blow off. You know, you have to anchor it. You have to have so much weight up here to anchor it down so it doesn't blow. And there's just not a lot of minorities who really know how to do that. So I think Mike's idea was an excellent idea. Well, you need to have some training now for that stuff, because they would love to employ people, but you can't get somebody black just because they're black if they don't know how to do the job.
Right. And see,
but we can find people for those schools, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Literally, you figure with all these vacant lots and all these stuff, and the city is deteriorating that the way it is. there's got to be what we had back in the 60s, what we call the urban renewal. Okay.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We have to renew it and see, Virgil used to tell me, he says, man, you prepare for war in the time of peace. You don't wait till the war get here. You prepare.
That's right.
So that's all with the training. We know it's coming down the pipe. Let's get our people trained up.
Get the people trained up. Very good.
Ward
Very
4,
good point,
they have-
man. Yeah. Yeah.
In Ward 4, they have the old King Tut Lounge. They turned that into a little carpentry training facility, and everybody, all the communities talking about, yeah, it's so good, it's so good. But when Quentin Durham had his down in Garden Valley, he couldn't even get the funds to keep it maintained.
Right.
And I'm just like, but these other people, Caucasian people is doing this, and we don't. When do we start doing for ourselves? Why do
We
we?
have to. Yeah.
We got carpenters, we got electricians, we got plumbers willing to. I was in a community meeting not too long ago, and the guy said, "I want to teach people how to be electricians." How can I do that? I pulled him aside, and said, "Hey, man, we can talk about some things, because that's the whole thing."
Yeah, you gotta be trained. Yeah.
I was talking about building the training center down at down on 79th and Woodland, at the old Clement building and stuff. I said, okay. And people like, no, we're not gonna do that. But they tore the building down.
Yeah, yeah. You have to be trained for the job. I mean, I've been knowing Verl since I was a young teenager, and I don't even want to tell you how many years, but it's about a half a century. I've been knowing Verl a long time, and I have a lot of respect for him. And I've known him for a long, long time. But if I get sick, I'm calling Dr. Nisa Shomo. I ain't calling Verl.
It's time to go. It's time to go.
Okay, so I just want to put that out there. Yeah, and obviously we've covered a lot this show, and I think our next show we're going to talk about police officer and vigilante accountability. Fortunately we appreciate your time, but unfortunately ours is up. But these subjects that we cover, I mean, we could go on for another 2 or 3 hours easily, till dinner time, of course. But it's probably time that we wrap it up. But we certainly appreciate you letting us into your homes. Like you say, that's sort of the year in review. There's a lot more going on, and Monday, a week from today, we will be discussing some other subjects and sort of try to encapsulate what happened this year. This was a historic year. Sometimes when you're in the middle of history and you live it, you don't really recognize that you're in the middle of it until you look back, like with Kennedy and King and, Malcolm X's, the Ballad of Bullet speech at Corey Church here in Cleveland. And a lot of times when you're in the middle of history or historic events, you don't really realize that you're in the middle of it till you look back on it. So I think when we look back on 2021, that'll be, that'll be something. There'll be some impactful things that happened or didn't happen. So again, any closing thoughts, Mike?
On the next show, we're gonna go into some other things, but Happy New Year to everybody, and let's do better this year. Let's all become activists and try to make it better for ourselves and for our families and our communities.
Okay, Verl?
Yeah, I concur with Mike. Definitely 2022 is a new opportunity. We have the infinite field of possibilities, but people simply have to be active, come together, have a vision, seek out leadership. Sometimes, people seek leadership, other time leadership seeks them, it'll draft people to do it. But however it happened, we got to come together for the sake of our children, if there's going to be a future. And things as bleak as they may look, I feel that God is still watching us and has a plan for us. So let's get on that vibration.
Okay. And with that, I'll say, let's make it happen. Don't watch it happen or wonder what the hell happened. Let's make it happen. Wear your mask, and we'll see you next week. Good evening.
Okay. Take care.